Hey everybody, welcome to the Hangar Deck. Um, I've done a couple of how-to videos and I'm going to do more, but I thought maybe just for the fun of it, I would introduce myself and let you know a little bit about me, why I got into modeling and whatnot and so on. My name's Tom and I started this video channel, I don't know, technically quite a while ago, but I just started doing how-to videos probably during the pandemic. And it's just a way to kind of pass on some of the things that I've picked up. I'm not nearly the master modeler that many guys are. I built my first model when I was about 4 years old, and I probably used a tube of glue on what was probably a 72nd scale Hellcat. And I remember being so proud of that airplane and so proud of my work, but at the same time thinking, I don't think all the glue is supposed to go on the canopy. But, and I'm sure it had all kinds of fingerprints on it, from the glue and everything. So it was undoubtedly a mess. The next big memory I have of model building was I remember going to a dime store and telling my mom, or probably begging my mom, to buy a BF 109. And I'm pretty sure it was a Lindbergh, might have been a Revell, but the box was probably no more than 10 inches long, so it was probably 1/72nd scale. And of course, moms being moms, she said no. And it must have been really close to Christmas time, because I remember opening my presents and being shocked that that airplane was there. And I asked my mom, how did Santa know I wanted that airplane? I mean, I didn't even mention it. I didn't tell Santa at one of the shopping stores or send him a letter or anything. And she said he just knew. So that was pretty cool. But for years, my modeling basically consisted of assembling toys. I mean, really, that's what it was. I remember buying a Monogram SBD, and it had the droppable bomb and the folding landing gear and the sliding canopy. And I remember building that and putting the decals on. And I just watched an episode of Max's Models, and he was talking about an older Russian model that he had just put together, and how the decals are all in one sheet. I remember that. I remember how the decals used to be all one sheet, and then the really fancy decals had little dotted lines around where you were supposed to cut them out. And I remember one time dipping the whole sheet in water and then trying to fish the wet decals off and put them on the plane. And I remember distinctly thinking, okay, that's probably not the way we're supposed to do this. But this was back in the dark ages. We didn't have things like internet. We didn't have Facebook groups or anything like that where we could go in and learn about modeling and learn about how the proper way to put on decals. We had our dads and we had the instructions, and that was about it. At some point, I started toying with painting the models. And I'm sure if I did paint them, I used rattle can. I didn't have an airbrush until years later, or I used a paintbrush. And I don't remember exactly how, but somehow I discovered a cat by the name of Shepherd Payne. And many of you know who Shepherd Payne was. I wish he was still with us. But if you don't know, he was a fantastic model builder and diorama builder, and in fact, he built a lot of the dioramas that were featured on some of the Monogram model kits. And I remember going to a probably a department store and seeing his book. And it sticks in my mind he had two books, one on model building and one on diorama building. And I bought them both. And that is where I began to really begin to refine my model building skills. And I hate to admit this, but it's true. I did not pick up a single bottle of putty until I picked the hobby up just a few years ago again. I didn't use putty. I didn't even know, even though I painted things and got an airbrush, I just didn't use putty. And it's kind of odd, you would think that I would do things like that in my background. I spent 4 years in the Navy, and one of the departments that I worked in was in corrosion control. And we took care of the skin of the aircraft. I worked on P3s. And if you guys ever want to know anything about a P3 as far as details are concerned, especially the outside flight surfaces and things, feel free to hit me up. I'd be glad to let you know what I know. But anyway, got a Pache single action airbrush and a pump. Many of you guys may know a guy by the name of Brian Scott. He borrowed my pump. It's an old pump, but by golly, it still worked until he got his replaced. And but anyway, started painting with an airbrush and learning. I remember the first time I painted with an airbrush, it was a total and complete disaster. And I thought, here I paint aircraft for a living, and I can't even use this stupid airbrush. But finally figured that out. And then, as kids came along and marriage came along, I kind of put modeling up on a shelf. My wife and I, in 2016, purchased our forever home, our home we're going to retire to. And it has this large area in the basement. And my wife said, why don't you start building models again? And that was like I said, about 2016, so that's when I started back into models. And I've probably built close to 100 so far, so I'm really having a great time. Got a little stash going. My wife doesn't quite understand the whole stash thing. She thinks, what am I going to do with all these models when you die? Well, what are you talking about, honey? I'm never going to die. I'm going to keep building models. So anyway, hey, this was just a little introduction. I'm going to post this in a few minutes, and then I'll probably share it around some of the groups. So hey, name's Tom. Love building models, and shout out. Got any questions? Let me know. There's a lot of guys out there a whole lot better than me, but I love to share what I know. It's just kind of fun. All right. As Max would say, model on.